Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pop Culture Spread, our fun weekly movie and streaming news show. Let's talk big news, Jace.
We don't have the news story. It's a pretty slow news week this week, guys. Here we go.
There we go. Hey, there we go. Mel Gibson. Hey, let's talk a bit of Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is scouting locations in Europe for the Passion of the Christ sequel. Now, everyone's probably thinking, what? Really? Do we care? I don't know. Jace, what's going on here, mate?
Well, do they care, Rick? I would say maybe we don't. Maybe the nerds that watch this don't. But the world does. You've got to remember Passion of the Christ was one of the largest films of its period and was one of the highest grossing films of all time. Obviously, the Marvel Universe and some blue people from Pandora has changed that. But this thing was globally loved as well as being hated at the same time, depending on which religious kind of background for you. Look, it's a film I've seen once, Passion of the Christ, and never watched it again. I thought the film was technically brilliantly made by Mel Gibson, but it's not something you're putting on for background music.
No.
So what is the Passion of the Christ sequel doing? And we don't know clearly yet because Mel Gibson had actually come out and said he had 2 scripts for this film. Right? One that actually was more, a bit more muted, and another one that was actually showing the fall of Lucifer in heaven, like a big special effects bonanza and things like that, all with juxtapositioning the fact that we're dealing with, and as the title apparently is going to be, the resurrection of Christ.
Okay.
So it's either going to be a cheap version where it's just a camera pointing in front of a cave with a big ass rock in front of it, or it's going to be flashing back and forth. Look, at the end of the day, you can say what you like about the subject matter and you can say what you like about that man on screen right there. He has had his issues, but the man is one of the most talented filmmakers going. Every one of his films are great. Whether it's Hacksaw Ridge, whether it's Apocalypto, whether it's Braveheart or Passion of the Christ, this man knows how to direct. So I think, Rick, we're going to see a lot about this as it comes through. And I wouldn't be surprised, against all odds, this becomes another box office hit.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, Jim Cazabel's returning as Christ. He's coming back as Jesus.
He's coming back.
Yep, everybody's on board. So it's going to be interesting, and it is big news because it's not comic book news. It's not science fiction news. Depending on whether you believe this or not, maybe it is science fiction. But either way, this film's going to be huge, and I would suggest this film is not been funded by the Hollywood. Hollywood's very liberal, and in the state of play in this current world, there's no way the liberal Hollywood machine would fund this movie. So clearly it's being funded
by him or someone else?
No, probably by financiers in Europe more. Maybe in the Catholic Church. They were a little bit against the beginning. Once they saw it, including the Pope, everyone was on board with the first one. So who knows? But more to come because Jesus is back, baby, and this time it's personal. Hey, I've actually got a few. I've got a mate here, a good friend of ours of the show, Jason Roy Gaston, who gave me some alternate titles for sequels that maybe they could use.
Right, far away.
Passion 2, Christ Harder, which is not too bad. If they were going to make a Passion 3, Christ, another one. I didn't mind that one. Passion 4 would be Electric Boogaloo. Don't know how that would go away. Passion 5 would be The Quest for Peace. And Passion 6, Jesus Lives. So you never know. I don't think they're horrible titles. But
I'm sure. You never know. It's not for me. Like I've seen this once, long time ago. But there was.
You would say it was a good film, right?
It was, yeah. Oh, 100%. But it's just not one of those things that I'm going to rush out to the movies and watch. But it will come with its controversy. I'm sure that's going to be divided. And yeah,
But dude,
we'll
what
see
is it
what happens.
divided? Any
Yeah.
new Star Wars content comes out, it's divided. Any
Yeah.
new Marvel content, it's divided.
Yeah.
Everything is
This
divided
is
now. So
it'll be good. It's publicity, mate. That's it. It's going to be all over everywhere. So
wow,
like,
don't ever count out Jesus, mate.
no,
You never
Jesus. All right, Jace. What's in other news, buddy? This is interesting. 28 years later, was shot with an Apple iPhone 15 smartphones. Wow.
We've all got one, haven't we, Rick?
We've all got that model.
And this blew me away because
This is crazy.
I'm a videographer for in real life in my business, and I do corporate videos, and camera equipment is expensive, and to know that now we are getting films of this caliber shot on iPhone 15, my first question is, how in the hell are you getting the footage to look so good? But it goes to show the shift of what I've been talking about for over a year now, the revolution of Hollywood. And it's not just in the way content's being made. It's not just about budgets. It's the technological advances that are being made. Now, at the end of the day, if you can use a handheld like pocket device to start shooting Hollywood films, you know, there is hope out there. And really, there's no limits to your creative imagination now. And now if you can make it look like it's shot like a Hollywood film, man, I think it's going to be cool. And it's very smart of them too to do that, because it's kept the budget down. I mean, the hundreds of thousands of dollars it takes just to hire the camera equipment and everything else doing these days for a Hollywood film. The fact that they would have built a rig around it. And I think there's a picture of the rig. I might have seen it somewhere else. No, there's not a picture of the rig. But essentially, yeah, I think this is something big and new, and I can't wait to see some of the trailer for it. I think it's the right type of film to take a risk on like that. Yeah, I'm kind of super interested in it, and the fact that we're getting a third 28 years later, we're getting a third film in this 28 saga, I suppose we call it. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I think
like, I don't know, the article, was the whole movie shot, or was it just bits and pieces, or are they
the whole
saying
movie was apparently shot with an iPhone 15.
like
Learn the movie was shot using it. Now let's clarify something.
Yeah.
A bunch of adapted iPhone 15s.
Okay, so
adapted. What does adapted mean? The iPhone. We both got the iPhone 15 Pro right now, right? We both got one of these. So it was that model, the model that we own is what they adapted. What I'm curious about they adapted was what are they doing with the lens and the focus and things like that? I mean, are you just using the lenses that are built into this camera, or is this somehow attached to another rig that's got the cinematic lenses on? So the focus puller still got a job and the camera operator still got a job. But still, I mean, this is not the first time too. Back in when they were doing 28 Days Later was one of the first major feature films to be shot with the Canon XL1, a $4,000 mini DV prosumer camera. So yeah, so they're all trying to, you know, innovate in that way, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing.
I think it's a good thing because people like yourself, and there's a lot of people out there that can't afford massive equipment and they want to get into that industry. Everyone's got one of these. Everyone's got one, mate.
For my business, I've got I've been using digital SLRs. You know, I'm more partial to the GH5, GH6 kind of range, which is designed for video. However, the next step up is double the price of what I pay now for my cameras, which aren't cheap. No. So for the fact that we may be able to have a solution that is comparable to what we're paying for the camera bodies alone now, that's, to me, I think that's something really cool. So I wouldn't be surprised soon you'll start seeing things on sale like those units been coming out of consumer price point where you plug in your phone and you've got your lens there and you've got your little process sensor there. It's all kind of just plug and play. But we'll wait and see. I thought this was very
I'm interested to see how they've adapted it, though, because storage and to record on 4K and how they want to record it is obviously going to come into a factor as well.
That's the interesting thing, right? I mean, that's a very good point.
Because there's no external.
If you've got, well,
I would add memory to it.
Well, yeah, iPhone. What can you get? Is it 512 gig? I think is the max size in the iPhone 15 Pro X.
Let's have a look.
Whatever it is, I think it's half a terabyte. Well, it might be even a terabyte. I'm not sure. But either way, I would suggest your adaptation would be that you would film, and it's also sending the data uncompressed, which would be the key, uncompressed into the adapted unit. So
512 gig is what I've got on mine.
Yeah, so it's half a terabyte. It's still a lot of data. That's a lot of data that you could put in there. And they're filming it at 4K, maybe even, well, they can only film it at 4K. I don't think these phones have 6K or 8K ability yet. So you're filming at 4K, raw footage. Yeah, I can see that filling up, but could you get a whole day of shooting out of that? Probably. And then you just upload at the end of the night. So
and then clear your phone and away you go. Yeah. Interesting. All right.
Interesting stuff.
All right, Jace, let's get on to the next story, buddy.
Well,
this is up your alley, mate. James McAvoy was offered a Star Trek role but turned it down. What has James done?
Well, look, well, it's funny, hey, how and I thought this was interesting because it's the thing you hear about all the time now, where you hear about people who have turned down opportunities and kind of been kicking themselves. You know, they turned down like Will Smith famously for The Matrix. Turned The Matrix down. You know? And there's hundreds of examples of that. And James McAvoy wasn't alone. He decided he was offered a role, not the starring role. Not in this pitch where it makes him look like Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
He was not offered Captain Kirk. He didn't come out and say who he's offered, but clearly it's Scotty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he come out and said, look, I read it. I liked it, but it wasn't right for me. I knew it wasn't right for me. And he goes, and the actor that they got was perfect. And he goes, I love those films. I love what JJ does. That's him sucking up a little bit. But essentially, yeah, I mean, could James McAvoy been great in Star Trek? Of course he'd be great in Star Trek. You know, good actors are good actors, you know, nonetheless. But I think it was a smart move, honestly. I think, well, we wouldn't have got him as Professor X. That just wouldn't have happened.
No.
And I don't think he would have done some of the roles that he ended up doing. Because he would have been bound contractually to be in Star Trek films. I mean, the first reboot, I'm talking about the JJ Star Trek films. First one was 2009, so they started filming that in 2008. And then the last one came out in 2016. So they, maybe doing reshoots earlier that year. That's a long time to be under contract for 3 films. And then you have to kind of negotiate whether you're allowed in other franchises. And you know, some are famously Uhura, obviously in Guardians of the Galaxy, and got to the Disney thing. But I think I actually had more respect for him turning the Star Trek down than I did before, because he realized that it's not just about making money. You have to feel right in the role. You have to be able to feel like you're going to bring something to that character. And he smartly said, look, you know, it's good, but it's just not for me. But he looks damn fine in that Star Trek.
Does he? Look at that.
He does look good. He does look good. So
you never know. They might do one. Who knows?
Well, you never know. You never know. Star Trek's an interesting place at the moment without me going on a 20-minute rant. And if you want to hear me go on a 20-minute rant, go watch me over the Captain's Quadrant when it's all Star Trek all the time. Yeah, they're an interesting place. So you never know. James McAvoy,
it could happen. You never know.
He could get a guest starring role as, you know, right, Klingon or I don't know, and anything in there.
Big enough universe. I'm sure they'll fit him in to do something.
Slot him in somewhere.
All right, Jace. Let's get into the next story, talking about big universes.
Dude, okay. I'm going to confess here something, a little behind the scenes that we had just before the show. There is obviously we're talking the Batman again because HBO has just dropped the first episode of the Penguin. Right, so it's all about it again, and you know, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of chatter whether Batman would appear in the series.
We spoke about it last week. Yeah,
and he's not. And it doesn't need it, Rick. My review on the first episode of the Penguin is I absolutely loved it. That other reviewers have compared it to him being like Tony Soprano. I absolutely agree with that. It is very underworld mobby. He is absolutely phenomenal. Just give him the Emmy, give him the Golden Globe now. Colin Farrell knocks it out of the park. So
I haven't seen it. That's why Jace is not saying too much, because I haven't seen it yet. I will be watching it this afternoon. So we'll definitely be talking about it. But I'm really
let me just say this though. I've just said how amazing Colin Farrell is.
Yeah.
There's an actress in this show who stole the episode for me. And her name is, if you just bear with me at the moment, I've got her name just here. Kristen Militoli, I think her name is.
Okay.
She's a recognizable actress. She's phenomenal in that. So, yeah, a lot to look forward there, Rick.
Have they released the first 2 episodes? Is that what they've done?
First one, just the first episode.
Just the first episode.
The episode goes for like an hour and 7 minutes. Like it's a long, very, very good. Now, however, even though Batman's not in the Penguin, Matt Reeves has teased a future the Batman spin-off series. Hopes for a crime epic saga. Now, if you'd said this to me 2 days ago, I would have said, oh, do we really need a big, expansive universe? But what they showed me in that hour and 7 minutes is there is a lot they can do. There's a lot they can do. And I would be very much down about having, that universe, even without Batman, explored in great detail. He was quoted as saying, Rick, I always wanted to make sure that each of the movies that we did with Rob and that central arc, the emotional arc of the story, would be Batman and Bruce's. So the Batman's really about that character. Then when I was talking to Warner Brothers about signing for TV, I said I want it to be exciting to me is to take the characters where there's not enough real estate in a movie to cover their story in full and really dig into them. I want it to all be this sweeping Batman crime epic, which is fantastic. And Rick, I tell you what, I want a series on, and it is still attached to the Batman, but I'd be down for a prequel series to see the breakdown of the Riddler.
Yeah.
The story up to where he decides to execute his plan. I think that would be phenomenal to get Paul Dano back because he was great. However, we don't know what the villains will be in this sequel that is currently developing. Maybe, Rick, there's a new villain that we go, all right, we go ahead and, we do a little prequel series or a little mini series.
So could he do it, though, with this whole thing with James Gunn taking over and he's, in charge?
The one thing,
what his vision is.
Well, that's a great question, and I believe James Gunn has come out and been very welcoming of that and says the Batman is its own offshoot spin-off series. It's not attached to his DEU. So they believe over there at Warner Brothers they can have the Batman universe going, and James Gunn could still have Batman in his. But mate, there has been no official word of a Batman movie from James Gunn. There's all these list of movies that he's apparently got to do, but no one's talked about Batman yet. So I don't know. Maybe James Gunn has got like Batman is their movies, but he's more a supporting character rather than the main dude.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
but either way, dude, all I got to say to you, and I've got to say to everyone out there, if you haven't watched The Penguin, get on it.
I'll be watching it straight after this, guys.
Top notch. So
you actually had me at Sopranos, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Dude, it's not exactly like Sopranos, but it's got the feel. It's got the focus on a main character who's trying to deal with the world that he lives in.
Yeah.
And Tony Soprano, that's what The Sopranos was. It was about Tony
100%.
Soprano trying to run a business, have a family, in his own twisted, bizarre, corrupt, illegal way. So.
Cannot wait. Sounds good. All right, Jace, before we get into the train wreck of the week, guys, just to remind you to hit that like and subscribe button for us, and also hit that notification bell. We would really appreciate it so you don't miss out on any of our videos. And also, guys, you can hear us on audio podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and where all good podcasts are found. Jace, let's get into the train wreck of the week. All right, buddy. Who's on the train this week, mate?
Jared Leto. And he I don't think he's ever going to get off the train. Let's be honest about Jared Leto. Now, I'm a big fan of the Tron series. I think Tron Legacy was an amazing sequel. I love that film. I don't care what anyone says. As the finest film soundtrack, the top 3 of all time, as far as I'm concerned, done by the awesome Daft Punk. Jared Leto is currently filming the 3rd in the series, Tron Ares. And Jeff Bridges was saying, you couldn't refer to him as Jared. You had to call him his character's name of Ares. Now, I don't know what you think about this, but I think that's a crock.
He's done it before. He
has done it before.
Yeah, we hear it all the time.
Yeah, he is. And it's just like, but you're in a Disney-made science fiction film, like about computer games. Do you really need to go all in on this? Like, I'm not saying if you can phone it in, but do you need to be Ares between takes here? You know,
it makes everyone uncomfortable on set. Like, you can't call him by his real name. No, you got to call him by his character.
And his legacy of being that type of actor, that Stanislavski method acting, may have worked in the 70s. Hell, it may have worked in the 80s. But come on, guys, you're making a movie. Let's pull your own head out of your own ass. Like, how many emotional places did you need to get to playing this character? Did you need to be in the moment all the time? I just call crock on this. I'll call crock on all method acting, actually, because some of the finest actors in the world, dude, you know, there are lots of stories like, you know, Morgan Freeman being in the middle of the scene, or Samuel Jackson being most of the thing. And then as soon as they cut, it's like, what's for lunch? Like, you know what I mean? Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the only guy who gets a pass for it because he's such an artist, you know. But even he breaks between takes occasionally. So, yeah, I just think it's goofy. I think Jared Leto, I will say though, Rick, I think this is it for him. If this film doesn't work, this is another failure. He's done being a leading man in big films. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Look at Morbius. That was all Jared Leto. Look at that train wreck. Pardon the pun, but it was absolutely woeful. And some of his performances in some films have been laughably bad. Like, no offense, Jared, but they have been. This one is really his attempt to become part of the mass populist crowd, to make himself relevant to the younger generation.
Yeah, but stories like this doesn't help his case whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And to be honest with you, even the plot of this film that's coming out is a little bit iffy for me, because it's apparently taking out the digital characters out of the video game this time and bringing them into the real world. So whether that works or not, I don't know. But Jared, pull your head out of your ass, buddy. It's just a movie.
Because
you're allowed to have little chit-chats with the crew and the cast as yourself in between takes, buddy. It's not going to kill the movie. And most of the time, you're going to be in that bloody costume anyway, probably. So,
but no one's going to work with him. No one wants to work with him if he's going to keep acting like this. If
Oh no! If this fails,
what I mean?
he's been struck down to little independent movies for a while.
I'll go back to music. He's got his band.
Maybe not. Do we really need more 30 Seconds to Mars?
Mate, I don't know. He's
I think it's a great band
on.
because
Yeah.
every time a song comes on Spotify after 30 seconds, I turn it off. So
Well, is that what you do with these movies? Like, oh yeah, Morbius, 30 seconds.
Morbius. Oh, I don't think I got through an hour of Morbius.
Yeah.
When then I just checked out. But there you go, Rick. Method acting. Let it go, people. Let it go.
Let it go, Jared. Let it go. All right, guys, that wraps it up for the week. Jace, it's been another great show with a lot of stories that we've discussed. You can catch all of us, well, you can catch me and Jace on this channel every week doing the same show. Go check it out. All the links are down below with all the other bits and pieces we do.
Of course.
Jace, anything else you want to discuss? Anyone that can catch you, buddy?
As mentioned before, I'm on Captain's Quadrant every week, Friday night live, 9 p.m. New York time, every week with my Yankee friends. You can also find me over the Jason Waygaston channel doing VHS Vault. We did Predator, the OG Predator last week. It comes out in a couple of weeks, which is great. And this week, we're going to be reviewing the classic, Rick, the amazing Mac and Me. That's right. Mac and Me. Yeah. We're going to be having a look at this phenomenal piece of art.
Paul Rudd's favorite movie.
Doing a review on that as well. So lots to watch. But most importantly, catch me here every week.
Love it. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
See you guys. Thanks for watching. If you could do us a massive favor and hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. Also, come and check out us on all our social media accounts and keep up to date. And if you're looking for some clothing, you're needing some merch, we've got you covered at the Pop Culture Spread store.